know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, designed for more than just therapists. If you're a helping professional in any way, diversity in clinical practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And if you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself. And if you're encouraged by it as well, share it with a friend. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author and speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. Now, today I want to reflect on a Diversity Dude podcast year in review. So, I was recently notified that this Diversity Dude podcast was recognized by Million Podcasts as a top 100 diversity and inclusion podcasts in the United States. This honor is even more appreciated because many industry resources report that hundreds of thousands of podcasts produced in this country, out of those, 90% of podcasts don't even make it past 3 episodes. Not only that, but of the 10% that do make it past 3 episodes, 90% of those don't make it past 20 episodes. And because of new and faithful listeners like yourself, I'm grateful to be able to say that I recently recorded my 150th episode of this Diversity Dude podcast. And as unexpected as this distinction is, what matters most is that the effort put into making this content has continually been shown to be appreciated by all of you who listen and positively impactful in your personal and professional lives. That's what makes it worth it. And as I look ahead to the start of a new calendar year, I thought it would be worth it to briefly look back at some of the highlights that I've appreciated over the past year in hopes of building upon it and offering even more for all of you in the new year. Appreciation number 1. This podcast has addressed dozens of current events impacting people's lives regularly. The positive and shame-free diversity trainings that I provide for large organizations and smaller organizations alike are filled with strategies that can be used to strengthen relationships with anyone, from anywhere, in any environment. In those spaces, I provide insights and strategies that have been relevant for over a decade and are adaptable enough to continue to be relevant as long as they involve people and relationship with each other. These Diversity Dude podcasts were intended to not duplicate those organization-specific trainings, but to offer a similarly positive and encouraging perspective on some of the most significant diversity-related issues making the headlines today, and thus being discussed in homes and workplaces on any given day. Over the course of the past year, this podcast has explored issues from presidential attacks on DEI, culture-related consumer boycotts, implicit bias in professional sports, DEI hire, and other myths attempting to discredit entire cultural groups, and the impact of attacks on DEI on veterans, women, those who are neurodivergent, and more. Slowly but surely, as we realize how choosing to not get involved in that politically divisive stuff doesn't shield us from the impact of it, we've explored various active and subtle ways to make a difference in our own individual and unique ways. Appreciation number two is this. This podcast has addressed real life questions from individuals like yourself who are not as alone as you may have thought. While I could just get on this mic and talk about things that I think are relevant, I appreciate that I regularly get topic ideas from others who have experienced certain topics only in a negative way, trusting that I'll be able to be consistent and somehow find encouraging and empowering perspectives that can help them have hope in their personal and professional relationships, as well as for the country as a whole. Not only that, but I appreciate having received genuine questions from those who are actively trying to positively impact their environment, but have somehow gotten stuck, or sometimes have even experienced negative reactions. And before they give up altogether, they reach out seeking guidance. And while I never claim to know everything, I do have reason for hope, as there are often multiple options left to try, and reason to believe that doing things differently can bring different results. And not just differently in any way, but strategically, with mutual strengthening of relationships in mind, which leads to appreciation number three. This podcast reminds me that we are not alone in the desire to positively impact others cross culturally. Sure, while I love being a marriage and family therapist, helping strengthen couple and family relationships every day on these couches right behind me, I also appreciate the opportunity to step outside of the counseling room and to help strengthen relationships of various kinds at conferences, schools, nonprofit organizations, and even Fortune 500 companies. And still, while I appreciate offering information that others find unique, empowering, and inspiring, I find myself inspired by the vast amount of appreciation I've received from professionals across the country and even internationally who already have a genuine desire to appreciate, respect, and value others cross culturally, and to be appreciated, respected, and valued by others as well. This makes it less of an effort to convince people to strengthen relationships, but to merely offer support and guidance in existing efforts and desire that's already there. This podcast is an extension of the hope that this generates. I want to be able to help everyone in every organization, personally and virtually, but I won't be able to hit everybody personally and directly. So, alongside of those efforts, I get to share with you on this podcast and be inspired in turn with every question asked, with every online comment shared, and every share extended to a friend or colleague, and every new subscriber who says with this little gesture that they're on board, like minded, not in every specific way on every specific topic, but in the desire to navigate the similarities and differences in the healthiest way available, one interaction at a time. With all this, my hope for you is that you would continue to be inspired by this Diversity Do podcast in the year ahead. I hope that if you're inspired, you would share it with someone so they can be inspired as well. I hope that you would subscribe to ensure that you don't miss a single episode and so that others can see that they're not alone in their commitment, not to a side, but to a healthy interaction across sides, across experiences, across perspectives. And if inspired to do so, I hope you'll share a question that you may have that may lead to a future podcast that inspires others to overcome an apparent barrier and instead strengthen a cross cultural personal or professional relationship near them. Until then, thanks again for helping the Diversity Dude podcast not only last, but to be distinguished as one of the top 100 diversity and inclusion podcasts available. I hope to continue to make it valuable and a worthwhile use of your valuable time in the year to come. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening to today's Diversity Dude podcast. If you have any pressing diversity related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a shame free or empowering speaker or training on this often sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at lambertsfisher.com. And if you found this podcast message positive and insightful, be sure to like and subscribe so I'll know which topics you'd like me to share more on in future podcasts. And if you know of anyone else who could benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic of diversity, feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well, or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to visit TED.com and check out my talk on what to do when you offend someone. I hope it inspires you and that you share it with someone else so that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
Hey, it's your girl Shaletta. Are you over there running low on your insulin supply and worried how you're going to pay for it? Minnesota's Insulin Safety Net programs got you covered. If you have less than a 7-day supply of insulin, you can get a 30-day refill for just $35 at any Minnesota pharmacy. Go to mninsulin.org today, print out the application, complete the form, and just take it in to your pharmacy. Go to mninsulin.org.
I drew you this year.
Oh, I love scratch games. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, Tabitha.
They're so sparkly.
Festive, right?
You know it's a good gift when it's hard to let it go.
Kinda wish I drew myself.
Kind of glad you didn't.
Holiday scratch games from the Minnesota Lottery are great to give and even better to get.
So thoughtful.
I know.
Listen, y'all, this is the last week that you can apply for the Minnesota Promise Act. So go online now to mnpromiseact.org to see if you qualify. Now, if you do, get the application process started. Don't worry if you run into some roadblocks. Our friends at Neighborhood Development Center have trained staff who can guide you through the process. So hurry up, time is ticking. Don't miss out on that money, honey. Apply today.